Welcome to the fastest stop in town. Today we're learning Masechtas Nazir Daf Samech. We are going to begin on Nun Tesamid Beis, toward the very bottom by the new Mishnah. It says the following mastis: Nazir Shahaya Tameh Besafik. So you have an individual, this person who is a Nazir, and he's not sure whether or not he became Tameh. And in addition to that, is also Umuchat Besafik. He also is unsure regarding the status of being a Metzora. So he has two doubts: the notion of Tumah of a Nazir, and also the suffix of being a Metzora. So Oichel B'Kodshim Achar Shishim Yoim. So the din is that he's allowed to already start eating Kodshim after 60 days go by. Now, what is the reason? So first of all, the Mefarish says, so this is discussed before, so the Mefarish doesn't feel compelled to mention this, but there is a requirement that, and Taisa says the same thing, Parashtil El, I already explained this, that after 60 days, you could now start eating Kodshim, and however, you can start drinking wine and being Matam Lamesim only after 120 days. So basically the idea is that we have these different stages of 30 days. So since a Metzora, we know, is not allowed to eat Kodshim, although a Nazir actually could eat Kodshim, which is the reason why you have to start off getting rid of the suffix of Metzora, which is a 60-day process. And therefore, he cuts his hair 30 days again. Now, the first 30 days will rid himself of being a Metzora. So you have 30 days and then 30 days of being possibly a Metzora, B'Tumah, and also B'Tahara. So now, after the 60 days are done, so the next 60 days are to address the suffix of being a Nazir. So the issue of being Mechusar Kippurim, the question is, you didn't bring Karbanos, so your Mechusar Kippurim is only by Tsaras, which is on the body. So because it's an issue on the body, so that's where there's an issue of being a Mechusar Kippurim, but not an issue for a Nazir, who can eat Kodshim, although he didn't bring his Karbanos. He's not called a Mechusar Kippurim, since this is only like by case of Saras, which, as we said, is a bodily Tumah. Mashenkin, by the Nazir, he could eat Kodshim even though he didn't bring Karbanos yet. So that's the reason why after 60 days he could already start eating Kodshim. Okay. So then the Mishnah concludes and says, Shemigalachas hanogea doicha tigalachas hanazir. When a person shaves while you're a Nazir and also Metzora, that's only bismanshu vadai. That's only in a situation where you're vadai removing yourself of the status of being a Metzora. Of a bismanshu savek, in the case where it's doubt, ain't a doicha, which is why it's necessary to not just do the 30 days, you have to wait until after the 60 days are completed, and then only afterwards you can eat Kodshim. As the Gemara says on Samach Amud Aleph. So the Gemara says, Tana b'medivor memorim. When do we say this whole din is dafkum naziris muetas? Our Mishnah of 60 days and another 60 days is only when the naziris was a 30-day period of time. However, avu naziris bashana. Let's say the naziris was a year long, so instead of it being 30, 30, 30, 30, it all of a sudden now turns into years. Therefore, instead of 60 days, now he has to wait 2 years to be able to eat Kodshim, to rid himself of the Metzora issue. And he has to wait 4 years in order to be able to drink the wine and the like. But Tani law, and we learn regarding this, that there's actually 4 different times in which this person is going to need to shave. And the Gemara explains, Tigalachas Rishayna, regarding the first time that he shaves, maybe Tzipoirim, he should bring the bird, which is Tzipoirim Metzora, for his Saras, also V'chata Sa'of, he's going to bring a chatas ha'ov, which is a carbon for a Nazir who is tameh, and also the oilus behema, which is a carbon that's brought if you're a Nazir who is tahar. So we have all these doubts. Is he a Mitzayra? Is he a Nazir Tami or a Nazir Tahar? So that's why you have to bring these 3 different karbanos, which is question 7 as well as TA5. Nazir shoy Safik Tami v'Safik Mitzayra Muchlat v'Nitar v'Nisrape. He was healed and he's pure. El karbanos maybe like Tigalachta Harishayna. So finally, after he's all clean and good, what does he bring? Tzipori Mitzayra, the Chatas Ha'ov. It's a chatas, again, becoming a nazir tameh, and an oilus behema, which again is for being tahar. So that's the first set of karbanos. Shnia, the second time, maybe chatas ha'ov, v'oilus behema. So at this point, we no longer bring the tzipoirim, which is for mitzayra. So instead, you only have to bring the chatas ha'ov and oilus behema, which is a shiloh, again, whether or not you're tameh tahar as a nazir. Shlish is maybe chatas ha'ov, v'olos behema, and you do the same thing for the third time, or revius maybe carbon tahara. The fourth one, you just bring the olos behema, that's it, which is because we know by the last time all of these sfekas have finally been removed in time. So therefore, that is what's done. Let's look at this taisus over here. It says the top taisus v'olos ha'of delo icy. When it comes to olos ha'of, it says a chatas ha'of you bring. How about the olos ha'of? So also, if you don't bring kedin nazir tameh, why? Kaimlo and v'shema mesafig l'hatzrichuhu v'chein tzarch loimer d'shlamim de nazir tahar l'hatzrichuhu. We also are not going to bring kamer shlamim do l'hatzrichu l'safig nazir tahar ra carbon l'hatiru b'tegalachas. You only have to bring that which will matir the shaving. Kamrin and gilach al echem mishlosh den yatsa. You only have to. You only have to bring one of the karbanos to be able to shave. Shnia maybe chatas ha'ov. Why a chatas ha'ov? So he says la mishum the naziris toma yalo minyan shiva v'yom shmini yas limnois the nazir tameh lekos svukim b'tekalacha shnia el mishum safek muchlat. There's a question: are you a mitzayra? Vav oils behema shem lo hoyim muchlat kim nazir tameh. Maybe you're a nazir tameh, you're not a mitzara muchlat. Okay, so let's see the Gemara. So Amrit, we said the galachas rishayna maybe v'chulu. So actually, let's look at TB5 quickly first. TB5 says nazir shoy safek tameh v'safek mitzara muchlat v'tahar v'nisrape kama tegalachas oisel latzeis mikol svei kaisav umazman tegalachta harishayna. So the answer is that you need to shave 4 times. The first one, you megalech after the minyan min nazirusa shenadar, after the amount of the times of the nazirus that you made. So if it was 30 days, so it's after 30 days. If it's a year, then you have to wait a year. Deshematarhu v'asur b'tegalachas. Okay. So continuing the Gemara, so Amr tegalachas rishain maybe v'chul. So b'manavshach. Shaper kamaisi. No matter what, we can look at that you're doing good what you're bringing. If you're in fact are definitely a mitzayra, v'lav tamehu, and you're not a tamei nazir, so siparin chayvasai. So the fact that you're bringing birds, that is an obligation for being a mitzayra. V'chatas ha'of, the fact you're bringing a chatas ha'of is shema azul kvura. So it's possible it'll end up being azul kvura. The savik is also kvur, ends up getting buried, so therefore you're not going to actually consume this, but it's because of it's shaykh that you're a nazir tameh. The oila and the oila that's being brought, the olos behema, in case you're tahar, so heavy a nadava, it will be considered to be as the nadava, right? The gilchay taich shiva efsher. You can't shave in the middle of those 7 days. The dilma la mochadhu. Because maybe you're not a mitzayra. Rahman Aimer Taru Yavar al Raisho ad Malois. By Nazir, you're not allowed to shave until you've completed your main Nazirus. So there is a heter if you're definitely a mitzayra that you can shave. However, the chance is that maybe you're not a mitzayra. And if you're not a mitzayra, so then you're not allowed to shave during the main Nazirus. Which is why we're not going to allow you to shave. Up until the time that the whole year has passed. The ila mitzayra vadai havi v'hutame. So let's say he's not a mitzayra. So the birds, we'll see what the status of those birds are. However, you're tame, so chatas oif chavaso. So you brought a chatas oif, which is what a nazir tame brings. So that's good. How about those birds? If you're not a mitzayra, you brought these birds. Yeah, but if it's sipirin ivroika misavdin, loy havichul la'azara. The Mitzvah says these birds, the avoda of the birds of the mitzayra, are chutz la'azara. They're not in the azara. So there's no isser of bringing chulin ba'azara. Against a suffix, but a suffix we probably wouldn't bring in ba'azara. But since we're talking about these birds, the process of the purification of the mitzayra with birds is something which is done b'chutz anyway. So if it happens to be, it's not a suffix, hitaka isn't the mitzayra, it's not going to be the end of the world. The oyos behema having nadava, as we said, the oyos behema is the nadava. The ilo mitzayra who v'lo tami who. So what if he's not a mitzayra? So we said the birds, okay, they're on the outside, and he's not tamei, which means the chatas is not a chatas. So stiboyer in avroika misabdin. As we said, the birds are done on the outside. It's not an issue of chulin ba'azara. And chatas oif l'kfura. So the chatas oif, we're going to bury it. Oyos behema havi chavaso, and then the oyos behema is actually the chayv. So therefore, memanashach, we have all three karbonos are brought, and in case of any of these potential sfeikos, and therefore, even if one is true, the other ones are not, it's not an issue. What do you mean? When you're dealing with a nazir tameh, I understand that there's a chiyuv of having a chatas, but isn't there also an inyan of bringing an asham? Says the Mefarish, mitzayra b'tigalacha shniya v'asham mitzayra vadai ma'ake b'chilasai. When it comes to a mitzayra, the second shaving in the asham of the mitzayra is ma'ake and is eating. Ve'ilu b'chol hani arba tagalchiyais. It doesn't mention that that they're bringing carbon asham. You need to. You're right. According to the opinion of our Shimon, you do bring it. And all you do is you make a condition when you bring the carbon asham. What's that? It says in the Mefarish. You say the following. If in fact I'm a mitzayra, so this is the asham corresponding to the mitzayra. V'im love, if I'm not a mitzayra, so asham zeh yehi shlami nedava. It'll be like a carbon shlamim. V'oiso asham tun shchita b'savain. The truth is, this has to be brought in the north. Matan bohanais, and the blood applications are put on the thumbs. Hachinami maisi asham mitzayra maisi. That's what's done. So it's not an issue. Okay, fine, you bring the asham. So then the Gemara says like this. That's the first one. The second and the third time, you don't need the birds anymore. The ha'avid, it was already done. So my iko, what after you get rid of that, what is the suffix? Maybe you're nazir tahar, maybe you're nazir tameh, and therefore dilma vade muchladhu. So you can say what? Maybe he was definitely a mitzayra. So chadul is suffix sifaroi, the chadul is suffix tumasai. So one is for the suffix of counting, one is for the suffix of tumah. So mitzayra must shave 2 times. The first time after the tsaras is healed, and then again 7 days later. But he's, in this case, a suffix, so he can't shave as a mitzayra while he's a nazir. Only person that could do that is someone who is a vadai. And then finally, tiglachas revius, when it comes to the last shaving, maybe carbon tahara umasni. So you now only have to bring 1 carbon, just the carbon of a nazir tahar, and again you make the condition as we continue to samacham bebeis, v'i vadai nazir who oil harishayna chayva mezunadava. If in fact I was a nazir tahar from the beginning, namely I was not mitzayra, I was not a muchlat, and I was not tamei. So the original time that I brought this carbon before, that was my chiyuv. And now the carbon that I'm bringing now is zunadava, it's just a nadava. Or v'im tami or muchladhu. So let's say I was tamei, and I was mitzayra. So oil harishayna nadava. So the first time I brought these carbonos, I didn't have the right to bring it because I was tamei, therefore it was in the nadava. Zuchayva v'zeh shar carbonai. And I'll say that, okay, now it's l'chayv. Fine. Now, what happens if tamei safek umuchlat vadai? You have a situation where the person is not sure if he is tamei as a nazir, but he's definitely a mitzvah. So the din is like this. In this case, since you know for sure you're a mitzvah, so you could shave at the time while you're a nazir. Therefore, you only have to wait 8 days because you're able to shave after the 7th day. And therefore, you only have to wait 67 days to be able to drink wine. Why? So the first 8 days, you're a mitzvah. Then you cut your hair, the 30 days as a nazir tummy, and then 30 days for a nazir tahar. And that's it. That'll be equal your 30, that would be your 67 days. Muchlat safek v'tami vadai. What if you're not sure if you're a mitzvah, which means you can't cut your hair until the Nazirus is gone, but you're not sure v'tami vadai, and you know for sure you're tamei as a nazir. So oichel b'kashim achar shleishim v'shivim yoim. So in that situation, you wait 37 days, 30 days because of the toma, and then you only have to count 7 more days in that situation. And then you can start drinking wine after 74 days. As we said before, that if you're definitely tamei as a nazir and you're definitely a mitzvah, so you can eat kachim after 8 days, because again, the saras is gone after you brought the carbon on the 8th day. That's it. Now you just have to do 60 more days as a nazir. So he actually says, in this situation, because you know that you are definitely tamei, so here you only have to count 40. It's only 44 days. And it's 7 days as a Matzira, 7 days of Tumah, and then an additional 30, which will end up being 7 plus 7 plus 30 is 44. So he asked the Rashbi the following question. Nazir Torah Mitzara, Mahushi Golech to Galachas Achas, Va'oil Lakan Lakan. Will we allow you to do one tegalachas, and it will cover both issues of Mitzara and Nazir? You cannot do so. And the reason is because the shaving, even though it looks like the same act, but there is a difference in the shaving of a Mitzara, especially the first time, and the removal of the hair as a Nazir. So Lama. So if they were both purposes in order for your hair to grow, and the other, both of them are equal in purpose of removing the hair, then you're right. Nazir. However, when it comes to a Nazir, the whole notion of it is to remove the hair. However, the purpose of a Mitzara is the first time after it's cut, you need the hair to grow. Says the Mefarsh, Klomer Nazir who Mitzara, a Nazir who's a Mitzara, Ubalo will go back to Galachas Sarasai, and he's shaving because he has Saras. B'yoyim shenishlomo Sarasai, the day he finishes Saras. B'yoyim shenishlomo you mean the Ziruso. Let's say for whatever reason he waited and he didn't shave until after his completion of being a Nazir and a Mitzara. So will it count? So he says no. Skipping a few lines, the Galachas Nazir hu Havir, because when you shave as a Nazir, you're doing it to remove the hairs. However, to Galachas Mitzara Gadol, the idea of Mitzara is to grow. Shemekan vi'ad zayin yomim sarcha galech to Galachas shniya. Because from now until 7 days, you need to do a second shaving. Essentially, you have to do a second shaving. No, you want the hair to grow back. Okay. Not only that, is there this distinction when it comes to the first haircut that a Mitzara is legadol and for Nazir's is lahavir. There's other distinctions as well, as the Gemara says. Shouldn't the yemei chaluto go up? They should count also in this situation because they're both to remove the hairs. If the haircut was done, the shaving took place both by the Mitzara and by the Nazir before the Zrikas Adam, you'd be right to say that one could cover the other. El Mitzara Lifnei Zrikas Dam. However, when it comes to the Mitzara by the second haircut, it's before Zrikas Dam, but Nazir Achar Zrikas Dam. So they're different. V'lo Saul Yimei Tzarasa with the Zirusai. We're not going to say that the days of Tzaras and the Zirus V'Talul Yimei Tzaraso V'Tumasai, that it should work as a Nazir Tameh, because if when it comes to being Tameh, so if both of them took place either before or after going into the mikveh, then you'd be right. Ela Tameh L'achar Bias Mayim. When it comes to a Nazir, the process of shaving is only after you go to the mikveh. Mitzor Lifnei Bias Mayim. So therefore, they're separate. Amrlo Yafa Marta Shlotalu Yimei Sifrol Ziruso. It's good that you didn't present this other notion. That they both have the same purpose. So who Nazir Tahar Vahu Mitzayra Zel Gadol Zel Haver. If he Nazir Tameh, if he said Nazir Tameh, Vahu Mitzayra Zel Ifnei Bias Mayim Zel Acher Bias Mayim. So again, because they have different times or purposes, so therefore one cannot count for the others. We continue to Samech Alf Omanal. Tani Rav Chia Zel Ifnei Bias Mayim V'zeh the Nazir Tameh is Acher Bias Mayim Zel Ifnei Zrikas Damim Zel Acher Zrikas Damim. Okay, let's look at question 8, possibly. Madua ein tegalachas achas oil Nazir tahar mitzayra. Why does one not work for the other? So this is what he writes. Tegalachas rishayim, in the first shaving of Shimon Mitzara, for Mitzara is legadol. The hair grows because you need it to grow back for it to cut again. But nazil havir is to remove the hair. Tegalachas shniya mishum the Mitzara lifnei zrikas damim and nazil achar zrikas damim. So we see the difference between lifnei zrikas damim and liachar zrikas damim. Okay, and maybe there's another question here. TB6, which is similar to this question. Let me just put it over here, TB6. So he asked the question, Nazir Tahar, Umitzara Choloit, O Nazir Tahar, Umitzara Lasifra, counting, Matam Shein Tegalachas Achas Oil Kan Lakan. So the reason when it comes to a Nazir Tahar and the Mitzara is they're not equal because the Nazir's will have and Mitzara's will gadol. A Nazir Tahar and a Mitzara was Sifra, you can't count them. The shaving's not the same. Shah Nazir Lifnei Zrikas Damim, because the Nazir is before Mitzara Achar Zrikas Damim. Mitzara Achar Zrikas Damim. Which is really, I think, a mistake. Because the Mitzara we establish is Lifnei Zrikas Damim, and this is Achar Zrikas Damim. Okay. Maybe he was talking about Lifnei Mikvah, Achar Mikvah. Okay. Let's finish the parak. Boy Rami Bar Chama. Hani Arba Tegalchia, these 4 shavings, the Kaimer that is required is Mishum Mitzvah, Mishum Avuri Seir. Tuma. Is the whole purpose, there's a mitzvah connected to it, or is the idea just to remove the hair? The person allowed to use some type of a hair removal cream without shaving like a razor. So if it's just to remove the hair, so you should be able to even use a cream to be able to have it removed. So we look at the Mefarish, it says Tarti Kamaisa, Mishum Tarti Tegachlios B'tzras, the Shlishis Mishum Tumma, Revius Mishum Nazir Datara, the Kulin Batar. So the 2 which were shaving because of Saras, the 3rd one because of Nazir Tameh, the 4th because of the Nazir Tahar. So how does this work? So Iyamrin Mishum Mitzvah Lavur B'Neshelo. If you're doing a mitzvah, so it has to be with a razor, you can't use cream. Yarmin Mishum Avuri Seir Tumma, then I feel Sachiv Nashanami, Mai. So if the whole purpose is just to have the hair removed, it doesn't really matter how your hair is removed. Amarava Tashma, Umigalech arba tegalchios, we shave 4 times. If it's just telling us to remove the hair, then even 3 times alone would be enough. Shemamino mishum mitzvah shemamino, says the Mefarsh. Actually, let's look at Taisus. So he says, Yesh Mefarshim dedayik midikul and oisem biyachad, since they're all together, imkain dami and hadadi, they're similar. The kuhu batar, they all need a razor. Afa shlishis shil safik nazir tame gam yesh besfarim kosev, etc. So because they're all coupled together, so therefore certainly all of them have to be with a razor. Says the Mefarsh Tikivan, the shtedik kalchias mitzayir v'shlishis shil nazir tame ika v'rei ser tuma v'hai dehadim megalech tegalachas revius ha'ika v'rei ser tuma Yomai megalech Allah shemamina dekul isnu mishum mitzvah galech arba tegalchias shemamina hanolach shnei nazirin hanolach shnei nazirin hanolach shnei nazirin. We will continue on tomorrow's daf with the last parak of Hakusim Ein Lehem Nazirus. Ad Kan.